Welcome to another episode of Man Stuff. As you can see, Alex is here with me. We're not in the same room this time, but welcome anyway. Alex, how you doing, man?
Hey CJ, good to be here. I can't believe we're already on episode 10
I know
of
it's
this.
crazy, ain't it?
Yeah, it's amazing how fast time flies and having fun doing it. We both enjoy it, so it's a good time to connect and grow together.
Yeah, buddy. How was your Thanksgiving? Did you eat a lot of turkey?
I did a lot of turkey, a lot of ham. I always love the post Thanksgiving meal. You got to have ham, a roll, and some and sweet potato casserole.
Yeah, man. Tell
That's
you
my
what I
thing.
do. I take that turkey and I put it in the roll and make me a turkey sandwich.
Oh, there you go.
Actually, for me, it's about 4 or 5 turkey sandwiches. I
There
ain't
you
gonna
go.
lie. I can't stop
Oh
at
yeah.
one. It's like Pringles.
Well, my thing I've been doing recently is my corn casserole, and
Oh
so
my.
I've been eating corn casserole basically 3 times a day,
Oh my
breakfast, lunch,
goodness.
and dinner until I finish it.
Listen, we're gonna have to stop talking about food. I'm getting hungry sitting here. Big boys like to eat.
There you
Let's
go.
just go on and bring our guest in. Oh me. All right. Well, come on in, sir. What's up, Chris?
Hey
How
guys,
you doing, man?
I'm good. How are y'all?
Good.
You good?
We found this feller down the street. You know, he's just out there in his front yard building a house. Figured, hey, why don't you come on this podcast and tell us about some stuff that men do?
Raw and uncut.
That's right. Oh, I'm just kidding. Me and Alex go to church with Chris. We're all good friends, and man, I tell you, I couldn't ask for 2 better people to do a podcast with.
Thank you, CJ.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
it's great to have you on here, Chris. Looking forward to connecting and gaining some knowledge on the subject we'll be talking about. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, and you know, it's funny that we picked this topic because this is probably one of the few things that men don't talk about. We like talking about all kind of stuff. We talk about all kind of crude stuff sometimes, but we don't talk about the relationships in our lives. We don't talk about how much we need the relationships. And when we talk about relationships, our minds automatically go to romantic relationships, but that's not all there is.
Right. Well, as men, relationships, friendships, it's hard to be in that vulnerable stage as far as where
Yeah.
accountability takes place in relationships.
Yeah.
Our pride gets in the way. Our own selfishness can get in the way. So I that's why probably men do not like talking about relationships or friendships or accountability.
Right. And
Oh
that's
yeah.
one of the key words is accountability. We don't like that word either.
Yeah. Well, it keeps us in check all the time.
Yeah.
When we start having accountability with each other and asking questions, it makes you feel uncomfortable, and that's that pride, coming up in you. But it's something that we got to deal with, and it's something that's very much lacked in the church, especially among the men. And I think that's part of that lukewarm church that we let that slide for a long time. And I'm thankful that our church does talk about accountability. I know that there's several people in our church that have accountability partners, which is a great step forward for the church as a whole.
That's right. It's a good tool for us to use. Accountability. It's one of the things that God meant for us to have to help keep
Yeah.
us going along this path and keep doing what He wanted us to do.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think,
Right.
CJ too, and Chris, you can touch on this too, but unfortunately, the day that we're living in, for men to say, "Well, I have a relationship with another man," in a non-homosexual way is odd for the world to think of.
Right.
And that's unfortunate. It's one of those things that's been hijacked, if I can say that, that has been taken over, and it makes men feel even more so like they can't have a relationship with another man. And I mean, obviously from a friendship perspective, accountability perspective, even from a mentoring perspective, that we need in this day and age, or we'll be led astray.
That's true. If we don't have other people talking to us and
Yeah.
helping us deal with life, is other people other than our pastors. If we don't have people who speak into us, then it becomes so easy for us to be led astray.
Yeah.
Right. Being accountable just makes us a better person, makes us a better man, a better husband, a better friend. When Proverbs 27:17, it talks about iron sharpens iron. Yeah. And it's imperative in this day and time to have and build those relationships, those accountable relationships for men in the church. But not only that, but building those accountability partners or relationships and passing our knowledge down to the next generation from what we learn. Having somebody that you sow into as well is vital in this day and time.
That's right.
And too, Chris, can you just? I know we're about to go. This may lead us down kind of a deep road, but what is and feel free to share as deep as you want to on this, and don't hold back. I mean, what is the benefit, obviously, of having accountability, and what does it keep us from, and how many men, obviously, CJ, I know you've spoke on this, that deal with pornography and things like that. What does that accountability help us to do, and what's it prevent us from going into?
Well, it helps us grow as men. It helps us grow in our relationship with one another. But the ultimate goal is our relationship with God. It helps us become more intimate, if you will, with our Lord and Savior, because that ultimately that's the goal. He created us for Him to have that relationship. So learning to be accountable to one another in those relationships could help us grow and seek into God's presence face more, if you will.
That's right. And the Bible says that our enemy has a threefold goal. It's very simple. It says he came to steal, to kill, and to destroy. And when you search those things out, those words mean exactly what they say. They mean he wants to steal from you. They mean he wants to kill you. He wants you literally dead, and he wants to destroy you, to destroy your reputation. But accountability and these relationships, these healthy relationships with other men, make it so that he can't do that. That's just one of the things that he uses, but he definitely uses those healthy relationships with other men to make sure that we can't be stolen from, that we can't be killed, that we can't be destroyed. Because truthfully, all the enemy has to do is to get us by ourselves and just whisper something in our ear. And truth be told, we do the rest of the work. That's really all he has to do, is just whisper something in our ear, and we'll do the rest of the work. We'll isolate ourselves. We will make sure that we go on a destructive path, and he doesn't really have to do anything else.
Right. There's been times when in my life, if I didn't have friendships or accountability to others, that I've just wanted to throw the towel in and walk away from everything. Walk away from friendships, walk away from church, walk away from every relationship. Just walk away, throw in the towel and say, I give up. I'm not doing this. But because I had friendships and because I have built relationships and accountability, that kept me on, I don't want to say on the line, but it kept me connected enough to know that everything's going to be all right. That everything, we all go through crap. We all go through this thing called life. Life is not easy. It's hard sometimes. But just knowing that I had built friendships and relationships, it kept me from walking away from a lot of things in my life, because I didn't want to hurt that person that I've built that accountability with.
Okay. Yeah. Well, and we can touch back on this too, but I mean, y'all are just stepping all over one of the verses that I was going to talk about was in Ecclesiastes 4, 9-12. That it talks about being, for if they fall, one, this is part of it. This is verse 10. For if they fall, one will lift up his fellow, but woe to him who is alone when he falls and has not another to lift him up. I feel like so many times we've been knocked down and we haven't had any relationships to be able to help build us back up. I know that there's numerous times in our church, with our church family, with the men that are in our church, even I mean, it's every Sunday that I walk in there and I'm walking around and I'm talking to men, and they're telling me what's going on in their life. And they're downtrodden. They feel beaten down from a week, just that 1 week. And when men, and they would say, man, I just didn't have anybody that reached out to me. I didn't have anybody that connected with me. And how important it is for us to be able to raise them back up, to help lift them back up whenever they've been dealing with a rough week. And it's even more so now. It's every day that we walk out into the world that we're just almost beaten down, mentally and physically. And so we need other men to be able to help raise us back up. And that person that's even down, they need to be raising somebody else. And we just sort of pick each other up, So it's very important. If we don't have somebody, then we can definitely be knocked down. And it says that to woe to them. And that's in our Bible, that it tells us that we need that relationship, or we're gonna struggle.
That kind of ties in to Proverbs 17:17. It says, "A friend loves at all time, and a brother is born for adversity." Mm-hmm. We all face adversity on some different levels of scale, different levels. The adversity could be, like CJ talked about, the porn addictions, the fear, the anxiety, the whatever, fill in the blank, whatever your adversity is, your troubles, your issues, that's our adversity. That's the stuff that we face on a daily basis, a weekly basis, a monthly basis. But if we have those relationships, it just, when we hit rock bottom, like you was talking about, going through a hard week, if we have those men and those people that we confide in, it just builds us up. It helps us get through that week. It helps us even get through that church service. There's times that I come into church and I don't feel like I'm even worthy to walk in the building, Come on. But somebody says, hey, I've been praying for you, or just a little bit of encouragement helps me get over that hump. Wow. So there's just been numerous of times that I've walked in, just tired week. My work schedule's crazy. You guys know how my work schedule is at times, just dragging, and just a hello to somebody could change the whole outcome of their day.
Yeah. It's like true. A recharge kit. It's amazing.
Right.
And Chris, I know your wife will appreciate this, and probably even you, but Need to Breathe, they've got that. It's one of my favorite songs called Brother. And it talks about, brother, let me be your shelter. And so often we've let each other down, and we're called to be able to provide some shelter over somebody when they need it, because we would want that in our hardest moments. And I'll just say something real quick, talking about I've talked about anxiety, and it frequently comes up in discussion, but when I was dealing with that, as many people in here, they may not know, but me and Chris have talked for years and years, and have grown closer, and we consider each other accountability partners, and we talk just about everything. And when I was going through anxiety, I was having some of the roughest times in my life, and I needed somebody to talk to. And Chris was there in those moments, and others too. But, Chris is, and that's why we had you on this show, Chris, for this specific topic, because I think you do draw a connection to a lot of men, and maybe not even realizing it, but you lift a lot of men up that need it, just with those encouraging words like you're talking about when you walk into the church, just to see a smiling voice, a smiling face, and someone to talk to. It can change the whole atmosphere.
Yeah,
that's a special anointing.
It absolutely can.
Thanks, man. Thank you.
And we've seen in our church, especially, and I think in churches all around the world, we've seen an uprising of men, where men are standing up and they're saying, no more. Yeah. We're not dealing with this anymore. It's time for us to stand up and fight. And I think the more that men do that, the more that we're going to be attacked, because that is the one thing that the enemy does not want, is he does not want men to stand up against him. So every chance he gets, he's going to try to beat us down. We know enough. We've learned enough from our pastor to know that we should expect the attacks. But we should also know that other people are facing those same attacks, and we need to be able to encourage them in their battles and in their fights to be able to stand beside them and fight with them.
Yeah. Well, and if we don't have it, if the men don't connect together and stand together, then we're, if you look at it from the prophet, priest, and king, if we're the king of our household, if we don't have those relationships, then the rest of it, as it goes down, God does everything in order, and our families are in order, whether people realize it or not, or like it or not. That's the way that God created it. And if we don't have that, as it goes down the line to your wife and then to your children, you're not going to have that relationship. You between you and your wife, between you and your children, and then between your wife and children, and so on, and it just flows down. And that's how important relationships are for men.
Right. But not only that, but the words that you speak over your family, the words that you speak over your relationship, your accountability partner, our words carry weight, good or bad. I think about that object lesson in children's church where you take the tube of toothpaste and you squeeze the tube of toothpaste. And that's our words, that it comes out. And then you try to take that toothpick and you try to put the toothpaste back in. You never can get all that toothpaste back in there. So our words carry weight. That's just a simple visual, but it carries so much weight. Our words, what we speak over our family, what we speak over one another, what we pray, carries weight.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we can knock each other down pretty easily without realizing it with the weight of our words. And I've realized over the years, just for personal experience, some of the things that I've said or spoken, have had consequences for other people and for myself. I think I can't remember if it was you I was speaking with on this, but talking about, some of the things that we say to each other, maybe even in passing or just joking around. We have to be careful of some of the words. And, to go a little bit deeper is, our words can be a blessing, but they can also be a curse.
That's true.
And if we're not careful, we can put a curse on somebody. And so we really have to watch the words that come out of our mouth, because like you said, you can't get them all back in. You might try to do some patchwork and some correction and putting it back in, but those words are out there, and that can
once
change
the damage is done, it's done.
That's right.
I've dealt with that my own self. Even just little comments here and there.
Yeah.
Even in my own marriage, just to be vulnerable right now. It didn't mean a hill of beans to me, but it cut her to the bone. And I, spent weeks and months trying to patch things up that for me, it didn't even mean what anything. But on the other end, you don't know how that person receives your words. And you could spend a lifetime trying to fix just a few words that you didn't even mean,
Wow.
So our words carry weight.
That's right. Sometimes it affects people differently. I'm a pretty jovial person. I don't really take offense to many things, but you can say one thing to me and say one thing and say the same thing to Alex, and it can not affect Alex and affect me, because we don't know the generational things that people have dealt with. We don't know that people have been called fat all their lives, or people have been called stupid all their lives. And one more thing that we say just stacks on top of that and stacks on top of that. And the enemy uses the words that we say to keep twisting the knife, so to say, into that person.
Yeah.
Right. You could be joking, and not mean nothing by it.
Yeah.
But to the other person on the other end receiving that, it could open up, like you said, it could be something generational that you had no clue, and it opened up something.
Wow. Yeah, you may say something that sets in motion a particular a curse, something that you speak over somebody without even thinking about it. You may set some things in motion, and the more that I've, I hate to say, just from a spiritual perspective, I guess y'all say, recognizing that and having that discernment is to recognize how powerful the spirit realm is, and what that means, and all it affects everything in our lives, though it be invisible to the physical realm. It's very much real, and when we become more in tune with it, you start seeing the effects of the actions that you've taken against somebody, and through those words, because like you said, when those things are out there, and then, like I said, this is getting deep, but from a spiritual aspect, angels and demons, they're all around. Okay. And when we start speaking things out into existence, those demons will pick up on those things, and they start to build a game plan against us. So some of those things that we say in private to maybe someone else, if there's demons present and they hear what you say, they can take that and use it against you, or use it against a friend that maybe you're talking behind their back, on. And so that is the implication, the power of words. I know that's a deeper, longer subject to get into, but that's the truth of the matter.
Yeah. Before we go any further, I just want to stop and say, for anybody who's watching this podcast or listening to it, I want to make something very clear. You've heard Alex talk about curses. You've heard Alex talk about the spiritual. I want to make it clear. We are not spiritual people. We are all three Christians saved by the blood of Jesus Christ. We believe in God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
There is no spooky stuff going on here. We're talking about absolutely real things in the Christian life. There is a spiritual side. There's a part of us, a spirit man, that does not die.
Yeah.
While the fleshly body may die, the spirit does not die. We're not talking about spooky things. We're talking about absolutely things that are absolutely real.
Yeah. And that's the thing. See, I'm glad you're saying that, because I think where some of the things that me and you're going to have to go to connect with what's going on in the world is that side of it. And it's going to be deep and it's going to be real, but it needs to be discussed and it needs to be talked about. There's a lot of men, there's a lot of people that stop short of going to that level. But we need it more than we've ever needed it before. Because I can tell you this, the demonic side of it, the demonic realm, witches and warlocks, Satanists, I promise you they're in tune with the spirit.
Yeah.
And with the spirit realm. And unfortunately, Christians, we struggle with being able to have that belief, that God can do the things through us. And yet on the other side of it, these Satanists and things, well, man, they're all in for the devil to take over their body, as much to put it online, have videos saying that they're a demon and whatever else. But yet from our side of it, we're scared to represent Christ and to be able to talk about it. So where we're going, it needs to be discussed.
That's right. Ain't no ghost like the Holy Ghost, as they say.
That's right. Come on. We don't deal with none of that fake stuff.
That's right.
Well, back to relationships.
I know. Where do we go from here?
Well, the the ultimate relationship is the one that we should have with Jesus. And over the weekend, I had the opportunity to help someone with some woodworking, and I was on the on the way to church this morning, and just thinking about just life, and just thinking that shiplap that we were installing, it had knots. It had maybe a crack in the wood. It had some rough edges and just marks here and there, just imperfections that we called character. That it makes for a good character looking ceiling.
Yeah.
But that's kind of how we are. We have knots, we have bruises, we have whatever, fill in the blank. We have baggage. We have our adversity that we face. We have anxiety. We have fear. We have porn addictions. We have whatever, fill in the blank. So we all have those issues. We all have things, but the ultimate goal, when we were installing that ship lamp, is exactly the look that they were wanting. It adds character, and that's the way God sees us. We have imperfections, but He looks at us as a trophy. We're His prize. We were created for Him, to worship Him, to be a light to this dark world. And when you have the right relationship with Jesus, when you're reading your word, when you're praying, when you have accountability partners, and you have issues, you have those things that you face, God takes those imperfections, those addictions, those anxieties, those fears, those struggles, and uses them for His glory. See, like I said, He used them for His glory, just like things that you've dealt with, CJ, and the things that I've dealt with, and things that Alex has dealt with. If we keep those to ourselves, we're not doing anybody any good around us. If we pass that on to somebody else, God gets the glory for that. He uses our struggles, our flaws, for His glory.
Yeah.
And just like that, those knots and things in that ceiling, it made a beautiful ceiling. Yeah, there's what some people may call blemishes, but at the end, look at the big picture. It makes something beautiful, and that's the way God sees us. We all have issues, but all He sees, when you accept Him in your life, when you ask Him to forgive me of my sins, to wash me, to renounce those addictions, to renounce those things, all He sees is that beauty.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. He don't see all those imperfections anymore. He says those are cast as far as east is from the west, and they're no longer there. He doesn't see them. He sees the big picture, which is incredible. And that does, I know we've used this verse before, but Romans 5, and it's verse 3. It says, not only that, but we rejoice in our sufferings, knowing that suffering produces endurance, and endurance produces character, and character produces hope. So when we build upon each other's imperfections, and I love the way that you put it, you said that some of us have knots, some of us have cuts, some of us have bows in us, just all these different things from life, and each one of us have a different story. CJ comes from a different background. He has a completely different testimony than me, and so on to you, Chris, and so on and so on and so on. And when we bring all those things together, man, we can talk about anything and be able to work a fellow brother to up through a situation that he may be struggling with, because somebody has dealt with it in our church, or in a close friendship, whatever. And those things, when we put all those things together, it's like you said, it may look like imperfections, but man, it really is character that brings it all together, and that character brings us hope in the end, and brings us all together and lifts us up. So powerful. That was awesome.
It's funny that you would say that, Chris, because what I found out is when I said something about struggling with pornography, that's the moment when I found out that so many other people are struggling with pornography. Once you decide to be vulnerable, people feel comfortable opening up to you. And statistics tell us that over 50% of pastors struggle with porn. That's over 50% of the people that we charge with leading us in the things of the church and the things of the Holy Ghost. They struggle with this too. And that's the people that responded to the survey. Personally, I believe from experience, the numbers are probably higher. Because of the shame attached to that particular sin. People don't like to talk about it. And that's one of the main reasons I chose to talk about it, is because people don't want to talk about it because of the shame. But once we decide to be vulnerable to people that we can trust, that's when the healing starts to take place. And that's why those relationships are so important, because if you don't have anybody in your life that you can tell the hard things to, those things are going to eat you alive.
I want to ask a question to both of y'all. And this may be a personal thing for me, but pride, I've studied on pride, and obviously we know there's nothing new under the sun. And we know that the fall of Satan was due to pride. He wanted to be worshiped as God. And what I've noticed in my own life, and I didn't know this was such a problem in me, but something that I've asked God to help cleanse. I've asked God many times to cleanse me from the very depths of me all the way out. I want to be completely cleansed. And one of the things that I see that comes out is pride. And obviously men deal with pride. But one of the things that I've noticed the Lord doing in me is, before something can be released, like you just said, CJ, is we have to be willing to publicly, I guess, renounce it or speak out and say, hey, I've been dealing with this, and I'm praying against it, and I'm trusting the Lord on it. But basically, until we are willing to make it a public thing, to make it known, to expose it, it seems like it hinders God being able to bring that healing to us. Is that something that y'all have recognized in your walk with Christ?
Yeah, that goes back to you have to say. There's power in your words. Once you speak it, it gives it. It's almost like you're freeing yourself. It may seem crazy, but there's power there. Power of life and death is in the tongue. Once you get to a place where you speak it out, things start changing.
Yeah.
That's just what I've found out in, my personal walk, my personal struggles.
Okay.
I don't know if that answers your question or not, but there's power in that. It releases it. Right. Exactly right.
Yeah.
We know pride keeps you in the dark. And I found that out in my personal life too, is that if I'm too proud to say something about something I'm struggling with, then I'm going to keep struggling with it.
Yeah.
But once you decide to say something, the light turns on.
Man, and it's so amazing too. It's such a great, it hurts, but it's also such an amazing feeling post that, because you're like, man, I'm free. You can feel a change in your heart. You can feel a change even in your mind. And that he's like, I've been trying to tell you, but we're so stubborn. And that goes back to that relationships where, hey man, we need friendships. We need those accountability partners to be able to do those things and not hold it all in like men like to do, unfortunately.
Yeah. And, we also have to be the accountability partners for other people. We have to be trustworthy. We have to be able to hold confidence. Just even today, I went up to a friend and said, hey man, I'm dealing with this. I need you to help me pray. And he said, well, you know what? I'm dealing with the same thing. So let's just pray for each other. And I knew that I could talk to him, and I knew that he wouldn't judge me, and he knew that I wouldn't judge him.
Yeah.
Because we were both struggling. And just like you said, Alex, I can tell a difference now.
Yeah.
I feel freer.
Yeah.
And it's 6:00 at night. This was like at 11 o'clock this morning. I still feel freer now than when I went into that service this morning.
Wow. That's amazing. It's powerful. It really is. I want to share something really quick, just from this is kind of a personal testimony to me, and I think it might help people with relationships. And y'all can give y'all's take too, but pre time frame from a few years ago, I was very introverted. I was very kind of into myself, whatever, wouldn't share anything. I developed a relationship with Chris prior, and had shared some things, but there's a lot of things that I was not branching out, and it's so difficult because I would come in as I I kind of consider myself a PK now, just being tied in with pastor and his son-in-law. But coming to our church and not have any relationships, not have anybody really to communicate with, and this was my fault because I held back. I ran out of service as soon as it ended, got out of there. That way I wouldn't have to feel that awkward part of standing there by myself waiting, for somebody or trying to go up to somebody and introduce myself, because that was like the number one thing that I did not do. And when I dealt with the anxiety and things, and it was a hard time in my life, but it was such a blessing once I came through it. And when I went through that, the Lord showed me all of these different things that I needed to change in my life. And one of those was to develop those relationships with men in our church, and really with anybody in our church. And I'm so thankful for that, because now this was a process, and I hope this helps somebody. This was a process. This was not something that just happened overnight, but I had to make a determination. I had to tell myself before I ever got there to prepare. I'm going to introduce myself to somebody. I'm just going to go up. It's not a big deal. I'm going to introduce myself. I'm going to ask how they're doing. It may be awkward, whatever, because I'm not good, with just small talk and things like that. I typically don't do it, but I'm going to force myself. And I've noticed, especially over the past 6 months or so, that when I come into that church, when I'm out in public, whatever, and I think my job has helped me with this, and God will put you in positions to be able to help you from a spirit, in the physical, from your business into that spiritual side of it as well. But I found myself being able to communicate with people in our church, and I found myself, men, being able just to walk up and just start conversations with new people. And I'm so thankful that God did that for me. It changed my mindset to where now it's weird if I don't go in there and start talking to somebody. If I just stay secluded in a corner, whatever, get out of there right after service, it's weird for me. And I hope that people can recognize the importance of communicating with others while you're there, and when you're in gatherings with other Christians, to be able to open up and to be able to share. And I don't ever see Jesus just walking in. If he walked into the church, going and sitting in the corner, you know what I mean? And if we're supposed to reflect Christ, then he would be, I feel like he'd walk in and everybody just be like, "What's up, man?" And everybody be talking and hanging out, and I feel like he'd be in the middle of the action, not sitting over there in the corner hiding out, waiting for the church service to be over to get out of there and avoiding everybody.
Right. That's why the Bible tells us that we should, and I'm paraphrasing here. That's why the Bible tells us that we should go to church. And it says the phrase, even more so as you see the day approaching.
Yeah. Come on.
So I don't know if you got, we've said it for 10 episodes now. The day is approaching sooner than you think.
Yeah.
Do not neglect the gathering together of yourselves. That's the wording. Yeah. Don't neglect the gathering together.
Yeah.
You need the gathering because of the relationships that we'll build there. I know it's hard for you guys to believe, but I wasn't always like this. There was a time in my life when I was younger when this would have just bothered me so much I wouldn't have done it. I mean, I was in a youth group and I just stayed home from youth group stuff because I didn't want to talk to people. Just didn't want to bother with it.
Same thing. Same way. I'm guilty of that myself.
Yeah. I mean, I've gotten now to the point where if I miss church, like if I'm on vacation or if I'm sick, it just feels weird. It feels like something didn't go right at the beginning of the week. And I can't wait to go to church the next Sunday.
Yeah. Wow. Man, if we could all get to that place.
Yeah. And just being completely honest, there are times when being who I am in our church and being, I know that you guys have kind of felt this sometimes too, but man, sometimes it'll just burn you out.
Oh yeah.
Where you just don't want to go because you don't want to deal with the people and their problems and everybody's got some reason. Everybody's got some complaint. Everybody just blah. You just don't want to go. And that's another reason why these relationships are important, because if you're not in those relationships, you don't have anybody to talk to about those things. You don't have anybody to help you pray through those things. Sometimes we need people to pour into us.
That's right.
As much as we try to pour into other people. But if you don't build relationships, there's nobody there to pour into you.
CJ, so one other topic that I thought might be important to share, and things that people may not want to to discuss, because it's gonna hit home for a lot of people, is unhealthy relationships.
Yeah.
You know, that was one of the verses that I had, was from 2 Corinthians 6:14. And y'all may know it, but it says, we must not be unequally yoked with someone who does not believe in Jesus. There you go. Do not be unequally yoked with unbelievers. For what partnership has righteousness with lawlessness, or what fellowship has light with darkness? And so the whole point of that is when we are connecting ourselves with someone that is an unbeliever, it has a negative impact on our mindset. When someone does not have the same moral values that you would hold, that are, when you're adhering to the Bible, and that is your moral compass, that is the thing that you look to, and this other person has kind of a worldly view, it's going to lead you down the wrong path. And as difficult as that is, that's something that we have to look at as a believer.
Right. And that verse I've seen used hundreds and hundreds of times in romantic relationships. We tell teenagers, don't date people who aren't Christian. Don't date, people who don't line up with your beliefs. But it goes for regular relationships too, relationships with men. It goes with those kinds of relationships, because if I'm having trouble in my marriage, if I want help, I'm not going to go commiserate with the guy who's having trouble in his marriage. I need to talk to somebody who's got a 30 or 40-year marriage and find out how they did it. If something is broken, you don't go talk to other people who've got the same broken thing. You go talk to the mechanic and ask him how to fix it.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't go ask a plumber how to do an electrician's job.
Some of them may know, but most of them don't.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah. No, that's so true. And I feel like there's so many people that ignore this part of it because it feeds our flesh. When we're like you said, from a relationship, between a man and woman, whatever, we like that person, whatever, but we know they're not in church. We know their lifestyle is different than ours. That is an unhealthy place to be. And of course, the devil is going to tempt you in that area of your life. Because most of the time, especially for men, just being honest, is we're going to struggle with that. I was actually talking to Chris about this yesterday, that, man, is just as men, it's in our nature, to seek out women, and we have to be able to be on guard, to protect our minds. That goes back to the accountability part of it. But yeah, it's a real struggle for men, and we have to be very, very careful of who we're involved with.
That's right. Men seek out partners with ease.
Yeah.
Right.
If she's looking good, we gonna turn the head, But after we turn that head, that's when we find out all the other stuff that's behind it.
Yep.
Yeah. That's true.
Most time there's a lot connected to it.
Yep. That you can't always see at the first look.
Right. So,
man, we've had a relationship counseling session, all kind of stuff. It's been a fun episode.
That's right. Too, and we can close it out with this, CJ, but I just want to make people aware. It's like you're talking about with unity and within the church and drawing closer, is the day is coming where that relationship with a fellow Christian, with a fellow friend, between men, whatever, that may be all we have, because the church body, we've got to be able to be connected together as a church body. I feel like, and I'm just speaking from the experience I have through our church and knowing what our church does, I feel like our church is so much more connected now than it's ever been. And I'm so thankful for that, because the day is coming where that may be the one life-saving thing that we have, is being able to hold on to each other, with where I see this world going, the moral decline. And we need each other to be able to maintain and be able to stick it out for the long run.
Yeah, I've heard the phrase "hell on a bobsled," where people are headed to hell on a bobsled. I feel like the world's headed to hell on a bobsled.
Yeah.
And we're all going to be along for the ride. Well, Chris,
Yep.
On that sad note, is there anything you want to say before we close this thing out?
Well, I think I said it earlier. The ultimate relationship that we're seeking is God, our relationship with God. And, it's important to have relationship and build relationship and accountability with men.
Yeah.
But the ultimate relationship that we should be seeking and hungering after and is the ultimate relationship with Jesus Christ. Through His Word, through prayer, seeking His face. That's the ultimate relationship that you should be trying to obtain. And through that relationship, your issues, your flaws, your whatever it may be, God can fix that. He can take those voids, fill them with His love, with His grace, with His mercy, and put you on a different path. So that's the ultimate relationship that we're longing for. Is to seek His face, to have that relationship, and to make it to heaven. But not only that, but to take somebody else along your journey and get them saved and get them, believing and being able to stand on their own feet again through whatever they may face. And then that person affects somebody else. They help guide and lead. So the ultimate relationship is with Jesus.
Yeah,
That's right. Alex, anything you want to say to the people before we close this thing down?
No, I'd just be saying to the men, obviously this is man stuff, so I'm going to point our focus there. I think it's important for everybody to be able to have that relationship. If this is a wife listening, whatever, for their man, trying to pick up some tips and whatever to bring back to them. Hey, we all need relationships,
Right.
not just the men,
Sure
but it does. I'm making it a point for me personally, and I think y'all will do the same, to be able to have a relationship with other men that I can talk to them, because it starts at the head and it's going to flow down. Right. So I think it's so important. If you're out there and you do not have somebody that you can connect with right now, you need to find somebody immediately that you can connect yourself with, that you can begin. You don't have to spill all the beans at the very beginning when you first introduce yourself. Okay. Make it
that might be tough.
Make it a point just to be able to talk to people, to talk to somebody, and just slowly kind of open the door. And then you can get to a point where you're confident with each other that you can begin to pour out and be able to speak to each other and build each other back up.
That's right. Chris mentioned that the ultimate relationship is with Jesus Christ. Yeah. The second relationship you should focus on is one with a church. Yeah. God put us here on the earth not to be alone. We cannot do this life alone. And you're not going to make it, even in this Christian life, even with Jesus, you're not going to make it without a pastor.
Come on.
God doesn't say that He calls us to a church. He says that He calls us to a pastor.
Yeah.
We are all called to a pastor to help that pastor walk out his vision. And through the church is how God fulfills His vision. If you don't have a home church, make sure you find a home church and get connected, get plugged in. If you're in the Birmingham area, you can visit Solid Rock Church, solidrockchurch.com, or come visit us at 5050 Pinson Valley Parkway and attend one of our services. We would love to have you. Before we go, guys, I just want to mention manstuff.tv. You can visit our website, watch our episodes on the website, and let us know what you think. You can also always, please make sure you comment down below. Let us know what you think of these episodes. And if you have any ideas about episodes, anything you want us to talk about, leave it in the comments. Alex and I both check the comments every week, and we want to know what you want to hear about. If you have prayer requests, you can email us at pray@manstuff.tv. Let us know. These are semi-confidential. We will see your name, but Alex and I will get these prayer requests, and we will pray for you. If there's anything else you can do for that we can do for you, please let us know. Pray@manstuff.tv. And with that, guys, Chris, I appreciate you coming on this episode. Yeah. We expect to see you a lot more, man. We're going to get you set up in a big fancy truck for a recording. We'll get you all kind of microphone and all what you need.
That
We're
sounds
gonna get you
good.
bougie, Chris. We're gonna get you
Hey,
bougie.
Oh man,
It's perfect.
thank you for
me.
having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you for the opportunity.
Yes.
And Alex, I appreciate you coming on this week, man. It's been fun. I can't wait for the next episode. And
Absolutely.
thanks for watching. Make sure you're subscribed, and we'll see you next time.